Guys, I hear you and I feel you. You see all these videos and I see all these RVs and sometimes the stuff starts to look very much the same. So leave it to Rockwood and Flagstaff to come up with something completely different for us today. Stay tuned. Coming in just about 11,000 pounds, pretty much on the nose today, up here at our Ludington, Michigan Bish's RV location. Flagwood, as it were, Rockwood and Flagstaff, has come in to save the day, giving us something a little bit different to see today. So you've seen a couple of their floor plans where they're willing to do something a little bit left of center, a little bit different. And they've come up with this very interesting kind of kitchen, dining bar, hybrid combo sort of situation. But they've done that in some floor plans that did not have a traditional dinette. Now, if you look at this one, what's kind of cool about it is it has an awesome entertainment center directly across from a nice plush theater seat. And I love the way they do their theater seats in this. I can't wait to show you. But they also have included in this a hide-a-bed for guests. And that's where I think this floor plan is really cool. This is an amazing, you and me kind of couples rig. Maybe not you and me specifically, but you get the idea. But it also has the ability to entertain and party some folks. If you're gonna have some friends and some family over for a little bit visit, this would be so much fun to hang out in together because it not only has that cool little elevated kitchen dining bar situation, but a full U-dinette going on in the slide. So between the U-dinette and the hide-a-bed, you could easily sleep 4 to 6 people in this thing. So it's a couples camper that has some awesome guest capacity. So maybe you have some friends over, they maybe have a little bit too much fun, it's perhaps not safe for them to drive home after a drink or two. They can hang out overnight, they can have a good time, rub the sleep out of their eyes and head out in the morning when everyone's safe. Or maybe you just love the open space of this thing and you love the huge kitchen counter space. Not to mention, I've seen so many new brands recently here as I've joined the ranks of Bish's RV, and it has only done more to reaffirm my belief that Rockwood and Flagstaff are pound for pound putting out some of the best built RVs that you can find out there in the market today, and I want to show you what I mean. So using that entry door as a frame of reference over there, like I said, this one gives us all the three, the big three in terms of seating fixtures that you're wanting in a fifth wheel, but they did the dinette a little bit differently by going on a full true U-dinette over here instead of a common 2-bench dinette or table and chairs, although I'm sure you could swaption that thing out for a table and chairs if you're so inclined. We've got the double sofa situation over here, but it creates a very social seating arrangement, which I really enjoy. But what's awesome about all three of these seats is they all bring an extra surprise, there's storage above, or it opens up into a hide-a-bed, or that theater seat, the armrests are storage, plus it has a fold-down little center console right there, as well as a set of household and USB outlets buried right into it. Then, of course, that true U-dinette folds down into another large sleeper. And that's what's really cool about this one. It's a couple's rig, but it can sleep not just guests, not just kids, but adults, which I think is very cool. Now, you folks may have noticed we have a special guest today. Mr. Brian's what's going on? This is Mr. Brian Ertman up here at our Ludington, Michigan facility. And he saw this thing and he's like, have you seen this one? This is a little cool, a little different. And I was like, show me, buddy. And we were kind of looking around this thing and we were a little bit smitten with it. Now, you may not realize, he kind of ruffled the tail feathers of this one a little bit. This is a carpetless slide floor system. That actually helps bring a little bit of attention to that. At the same time, depending on where you're sitting at those stools, that may also bring attention to the fact that you might ruffle those tail feathers a little bit, Mr. Brian. By the way, when we were panning around the different seating footage, did you notice that all of our windows had both blackout roller shades as well as day shades? So you have as much or as little light and or privacy as you'd like. Now, Mr. Brian, could you do me a favor? He's like, uh-oh. He had that look like he just got called down to the principal's office. Could you do me a favor? Could you slide around that U-dinette? Because absolutely. I don't know that we really typically have a good way for me to show people how much space is around there. Now, you might notice he's doing a little bit of a butt scoop buggy, but you may also notice that was a floating table. And this right here brings to light something that is often misunderstood about U-dinettes. People say, ooh, you can sit more people around him. No, not really, because if you look at where you have legroom, you still really only have legroom for about 3 people. If you want that 4th person, you almost need to bring an extra chair to put on the front. Brian's nodding because obviously you've had this conversation with folks before. I I don't like it when a manufacturer's like, oh, look, it's a 6-person dinette. No, not really. Now, slide that table all the way out of there. Because that actually, Mr. Brian, do me a favor. Bring the table over here in front of the theater seat, if you could. Because this, he says, absolutely, he says, this is what we're going to call a dynofa. And in point of fact, you have a double dynofa. Could you take a seat there, Mr. Brian? Let people see the... Look at how willing and happy he is. I like this guy. So if you're like me, I like to sit at the couch and watch TV when I eat. Maybe I shouldn't, but that's what I do. And this is a really cool way that you could do that. Or if you're working on a little craft or a puzzle on a rainy day, but you want to enjoy the boob tube, well, it gives you the perfect spot for it. Now, the thing with this floor plan is with the door side entertainment, it kind of breaks up the window coverage a little bit, but thankfully, the full entry door has a full viewing window. What's also cool about this, Flagwood, as I like to call them, the Flagstaff and Rockwood sister clones, they do actually include the privacy shade. I really should have pulled that down for you a little bit. By the way, flip those 4 clips, and like Missy Elliott would say, roll it over, flip it, and reverse it, and you can pull that thing from the bottom up instead of the top down. And Brian is like, oh no, don't get me in trouble with HR, please. And I'm like, Brian, I can't even spell HR. Now look at this, though. We're straight across, Brian. You know what this is called? This is called Boardwalk and Park Place. We're straight across from the entertainment center right here. Now, the thing is, you have an electric space heat and Tootsie Toaster down below. But this RV also has 12-volt thermostatic tank heaters, which is cool. Thermostatic means they only turn on when it hits 40 degrees or colder, so they're not sitting there melting your holding tanks the whole time. Very important if you're a park camper and you don't actually put water in your freshwater tank. Additionally, these air conditioners, they also have heat pumps on them, which is something that they do a fantastic job of in this RV, but it's not really well known and well documented. And frankly, I don't know that I've done a good job of talking about that and documenting that in the past. So apologies there. Now, you may have kind of discerned this is a relatively deep entertainment slide, but the TV's all up in our face. We'll do a little Legend of Zelda magic, opening that sucker up right there. You see that there's a big chunk of storage actually above an outside camp kitchen. And then we get over here into the kitchen proper, and you see it is storage galorage. There's very few things I dislike about this kitchen. I love all the drawer space on this. By the way, those are residential soft close drawers, which is really nice. This is all pocket screwed cabinetry, all hardwood cabinet door frames. If we are going to nitpick the life out of this kitchen, the worst that I can come up with is the refrigerator actually maybe feels a little small for a fifth wheel of this size. But I mean, I'm having to get awful nitpicky about that. What we're looking at here is the factory standard 10.7 cubic foot DC compressor fridge. Now remember, these come standard with 190 watts of factory solar and a 1,000 watt inverter that is helping power multiple outlets in this RV as we go around. That will become very critical as we talk about accessing a refrigerator in road mode transit function. And then did you notice over here, the way that this kitchen is laid out, there's not a whole lot of very obvious power outlets. So it does have the pop-up power tower right there. And then if I swing you around, like George of the Jungle, watch out for that tree, you see that we have another set of outlets under that elevated kind of little visitation breakfast serving nacho supreme bar. And that, Mr. Brian, is not an easy bake oven. That is one of the larger 22-inch ovens. So, if you hit a pheasant on the way to your campsite, you could cook the pheasant in that instead of just a pigeon. That's how we measure oven sizes. Fantastic, yeah. It's a camping fowl, if you will. Now, as Brian kind of set up for us here, once again, you can set that up in theater mode. You can set that up in love seat lounge mode. And we, again, have that direct view of the entertainment center right here. Now, that TV swings out, but it doesn't, sit there. So, basically, it's a fixed viewing angle, but the TV can pivot. I suppose you could put some kind of gas strut or something on it if you were so inclined. On the way up here, you might notice this has the handy Sweepovac system right here. Basically, central vacuum system built right in, and it has a little, what I like to call electric dustpan. You can just toe kick that little sucker and just everything that you sweep right over to it. And since it's carpetless, that is easy. And I love these little details. Montana does this a lot. But that little magnet holdback for the entry door, or the bedroom door, just simple, easy things. And notice how all of our fancy switchy panel stuff, it's all in here, it's all enclosed, it's away from like direct eyesight in case you have, you know, like a grandkid or something over for the weekend, or just a nosy guest of some variety. Now, he's probably wondering what he got himself into right now, but Mr. Brian has volunteered to basically cop a squat in the shower for us because this RV has a handy little corner seat in a big shower. Now, Mr. Brian, could you reach down and act like you're shaving your legs for us?
Sure.
Well, you know exactly what you're doing. You done that before?
No, first timer.
Actually, could you stand up for us also? Yeah. Something that wasn't as obvious, like up in the living room, I don't know if you're really noticing it here on camera, but this RV has a vaulted ceiling. So, you know, it jumps up a little bit in the middle. What's nice about that is it offers exceptional headroom in the shower. And how tall are you?
A whopping 6 foot tall.
6 foot on the nose. Okay. So, I mean, you're a decent American-sized guy. Not too bad. Now, Mr. Brian, as the sticker here indicates, I'm going to put you on the spot. Is this RV true or false equipped with the shower miser system?
Yes, sir, it is.
How could you tell? Because you can see it.
Yeah.
So here was Mr. Brian's view, actually, from the seat in the shower. And here's the shower miser system we were talking about. If you're not familiar with this, it's really handy if you're boondocking, and it does pretty much nothing for you if you're at a park. Because when you're at a park, you probably have city water hookups, which is, you know, the opposite of when you need this thing. If you don't have city water hookups, if you're pulling water with your water pump from your freshwater tank, instead of waiting for the water to heat up and all of the water that's spraying out of this getting wasted and just going into your gray tank, that will actually recycle water back into your fresh tank. And this blue tube will actually turn like white once the water hits, I don't remember the exact temperature number, but hot. Once the water gets warmer, you can actually see that it's getting warmer. So then you can flip that switch and enjoy a nice hot shower without wasting an extra drop of water, which I think is very cool. Now, if we, again, take a seat on Mr. Brian's favorite shin-shaving place over here, take a look at the little vanity area. You see that little remote control? Well, that is for the extra large vent fan that you see above our head right here. One of the really cool things with this brand is that anytime you get a vent fan, you get the bigger one. And here in their fifth wheels, they go another notch above and they make it remote controllable. In case you're sitting on the toilet and you have need for some ventilation. Anything you want to tell us, Brian?
Crazy ventilation here. That's going to suck out all your bad smells.
Now, what is this cabinet beside us, buddy?
This here is storage.
That is what I call lipitorage storage right there. Just, you know what? That's called why not space. They had a little chunk of space. They didn't want to waste it. They said, why not? And now, how you're 6 foot tall. Can you extend your legs out?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, if you're going to be in here a long time, you don't have to do any kind of weird twist 'em up bathroom yoga. You just have to accept the fact that maybe there's somebody like me taking video evidence of you on the toilet at the same time that, you know, you're on it. Never mind. We're moving on. Now, guys, in case you're wondering, whenever I have a special guest like that, I never make them do anything they're not willing to do. So kind of keep that in mind. Now, normally this would have a 60 by 80 True Queen, which is very cool because that does give us a little more room to walk around. If you notice, even with the King upgrade that we're looking at, there's still really good room to walk around over here. Although on this front side, it does get a little bit tighter. I think you can still kind of make that work. And in case you're curious, like, what is that little carpeted hump? That is the extra structural stuff that basically you need in the front end of this thing to keep it from crumpling up like a wad of paper. So this is the 70 by 80 King bed upgrade, which, you know, not exactly residential sized. But if you notice, there's these little side stands over here. Now, they have power outlets built into them, and those are run to the inverter. So that's very cool stuff. But if you were willing to pull those out of there, like if you were willing to say, okay, I can live without the outlets, and I want an even wider bed, you might be able to fit a little bit more of, say, like a California King or residential King or something like that in here. I haven't done the hard slide box measurement. Maybe give Mr. Brian a call if you're curious about that, and he could check that for you. You know, not including the side stands, what's the maximum interior width of this thing? Although looking at it, it's a 70 by 80 King. I think you could put a 72 by 80 in there at least. You have breeze windows on both sides of the bed. Those also have those blackout roller shades, which is kind of cool. And again, that vaulted ceiling really helping open everything up in here. Now we're looking at the optional second air conditioner on this thing. We're going to talk more about that when we get upstairs, actually onto the roof of all places. Hopefully the weather cooperates a little bit better for me than it has most of the day. Lifting up the bed there. One of the things that you might see in this RV, there's that brown box. That's actually a griddle that we're going to see mounted on the, well, not mounted, but there's a griddle mount on the rear bumper of the RV for a little outdoor griddle action. Now, the nose cap of this thing, you might see a washer-dryer hookup over there all the way on the right-hand side. Something they did a little bit different on this one, which I think is very cool. Did you notice how it had that kind of like recessed shoe cubby in there? If you wanted to, you could take those shelves out and you could actually outfit this one with side-by-side washer and dryer instead of just a combo unit, although you could do a combo if that was your preference. So I've got all the lights off. We're simulating a full-on road mode travel stop. Now, when you're traveling, you would probably have the ability to turn lights on because the RV is hooked up to the truck and there should be a battery on the tongue. But the fact is you can easily get in here and get right into that bathroom. Although you are kind of walking around that bathroom door, which I don't love, but I understand that because of the location of the switch panel in that little hidden door at the bottom of the screen on the right, right there, they can't do a sliding pocket door. It would slide into and bust that wiring. Like, I get that. Now, when you first look at this, at first you're going to say this is a complete fail, instant deal breaker, but hang with me. Now, you can slide between these two things, and you could get back here kind of between the slides for a little bit, but you notice you're not going to get the refrigerator open. Now, you have a couple different options here. Option A, which is perfectly viable, you could partially open this rack and pinion slide over here on the door side of the RV. And with this having those big fold-down stable steps, if you have room to flip those steps down, you have room, frankly, to fully deploy that slide if you want to. But it won't hurt the slide to open it partially if you just need to sneak back to the fridge real quick. But the thing is, you don't have to do that on this floor plan. Because this comes with a factory standard inverter that is hooked up to an outside refrigerator, you always have a fridge running out there. You can always get your bedroom and bathroom in here. It's unconventional, but it still passes the Cracker Barrel test. Okay, so remember those floating kind of, chairs over here by the elevated kitchen area? You need to make sure you use that little buckle strap to keep them sucked all the way up against that kitchen countertop, because if not, when you're jiggling down the road, if that chair right there gets wedged behind the slide flange, when you go to open that, you're either going to tear off some slide fascia or you're going to smash that chair, and probably a combination of the two. So they gave you the mechanism there, that little buckle strap, to make sure you don't smash stuff up. I just wanted to throw a little extra attention to it, maybe help somebody proactively avoid breaking their camper. And, if you appreciate a little extra care and concern, hit that subscribe button. Let's hop outside. And I like the look of this thing. I like how that would look in my rear view mirror right there. I think that's going to look absolutely fantastic. Kind of nosed out of a campsite if you're in a campground with a lot of other people. There's something about just there's a high contrast in that nose cap. It gives it a very, projected 3D look on those graphics that works for me. Overall, though, I like the look of this, but the thing is, you can actually have this thing look in two different ways. We're looking at the white exterior skin with the graphite kind of accents. There's also a champagne tan kind of base skin with some dark chocolate accents you can get. I don't think either one looks bad, and if you want sort of a sample, take a look at that Salem Hemisphere, that brown trailer over there. That's kind of how this one could look over here. Not exactly. It's got just a little titch of a Baja Blast blue, giving it just a nice little color accent in the nose as well. Now for towing, you are riding on independent, well, no, not truly independent, but kind of like independent, torsion axles and suspension. So this is not a very conventional leaf spring system. That will help quite a bit. And if you've got a very short bed pickup, that turning point hitch right there might just be the thing that saves your fifth wheel and your pickup from getting into a shoving match. Because when that happens, no matter who wins, you lose. And that's when the repair shop wins. That's who wins. Now, looking over here from this angle, this is a pretty conventional looking front end on a fifth wheel. What I like about this one is what they did with that slide. because first of all, notice that it does include its own second power awning. And I apologize, I'm not doing a full-on set up the griddle and work table and everything here today with the weather being what it is. I'm trying to minimize the time with that big door open. Thankfully, it's very light misty right now, and it's got that big, like 7-foot tall overhead door giving us some easy, you can walk around and not clock your noggin kind of clearance on that thing. And it's doing the lion's share shielding the camp kitchen for the little bit of time we have open here. Now, the cool thing, again, they're giving us and instead of or. If they would have done just this big door right here, shielding the kind of camp kitchen next to an awning protected entry door that's a nice wide door, by the way. That's a cool thing Rockwood and Flagstaff do. They put their furniture in last because they have a wider door. It makes it easier for them. But that's a little production note for you, by the way. If you're curious on that note, if you want to see how these things actually come together, I'll leave you a link in the video description. I've got a full-on fifth wheel factory tour of these things recorded. I kind of forget about that. Anyway, if they had done the big door or the awning, I would have been okay with either of them. But they did and instead of or. And look at this. You see how that's an aluminum shrouded awning? You see that little shield over the top of it? Let me see if I can get you a little bit closer to give you a little bit better view. So when the awning's in storage, it's not getting eaten alive by the sun like a plague of locusts eating a field or something. I don't know. It felt right. I don't know. I apologize. Regardless. But this fridge right here, remember, I said that when you close the slide inside, you lose access to the fridge in the back. But because this RV has a 1,000-watt inverter, and they include that plug back there in the inverter loop, this outside refrigerator can run in transit. So even though you can't get to the primary kitchen fridge when you're going down the road, you can still have a refrigerator accessible while you're traveling. That's cool. And not only, by the way, are you riding on torsion axles and suspension, because a lot of things have a torsion axle system, but not torsion suspension. It's just going to be a little smoother riding, effectively. There's some other benefits to it, but long story short, you're just going to enjoy the trip a little bit better. Those are Goodyear Endurance radials, factory standard, and it does include a factory standard tire pressure monitoring system. Rockwood and Flagstaff have been doing that for about 2 or 3 years longer than everybody else, and as more and more people have come to appreciate better tires and peace of mind in towing, that is something that more and more brands have adopted. Now, this is the back side of that U-dinette storage, and pardon me as I close that to keep the rain out. I'm trying to respect the fact that this could be somebody else's property one day, anything that's load bearing in this, so your structure, this is an all aluminum welded cage structure, and actually the roof, the walls, those are all laminated. The floor is not, but it is still aluminum framed, and then it has a 5/8 tongue and groove plywood floor decking on it. So this is built like any big heavy fifth wheel. It's just built really well, and it's just not, a 16,000-pound monster rig or anything like that. But anything that's load bearing in terms of furniture, they make an aluminum welded cage in-house for it, just like we saw. Now this is kind of neat on the back over here. We already saw where it had a little outside camp cooker situation. There's an LP quick connect for that, of course. But then you see there's another one back here, and I don't know that I've ever seen another one on a 45-degree angle like that. Usually they're either side-facing or rear-facing, not kind of a little bit of both. But regardless, this RV also includes a handy outside griddle that mounts on that arm that can swing around. And then when we get in the pass-through storage area, you'll see that there's like a black shelf that's included with this. Again, just because of the weather, I'm trying to minimize the exposure a lot of these things have here. I don't want to get a cardboard box wet and then shove it back in the compartment and create an organic penicillin factory, you know what I mean? Burn. I asked my buddy the other day, cause I just totally don't pay attention to things, but like Jim Varney, Ernest Goes to Camp. I was like, what happened to that guy? I haven't heard from him in a while. And he busts out the line from Ernest Goes to Camp. He's dead. Deep six. Gophers are bringing him his mail. I didn't realize. I guess I just thought he quit acting. I didn't realize he quit acting because he died. The more you know. Now you know. Anyway. They're giving us, we're gonna pivot back to the camper real quick instead of Jim Varney trivia. They're giving us and instead of or. They're giving us a square tubular bumper and a 300-pound receiver hitch instead of one or the other. It's the little details like that that I really appreciate out of this brand right here. Then you see, remember that little space on the inside of the RV under the sink where the wastebasket was located? Tell me what you think about this. you can access it from the outside. You have a weird driver's side, indoor, outdoor trash can space. But the thing is, it's like a weird pocket of space that isn't always easily accessed from the inside of the RV unless you want to get on your hands and knees and crawl around. So they made sure that you could move things around to get to it as you needed. But you know what I thought? I actually thought it would be kind of nice to be able just to open that door and, take the trash outside of the RV without having to haul it through the whole camper. Just less of a chance of something falling and going wrong, And now, did you notice how that baggage door was actually hanging out at a funny angle? It did not have a magnet holdback. It did not lie flush against the side of the trailer. Do you know why? Can you figure out why? Leave me a comment. I'll give you a second. It's like Dora the Explorer when she asks, can you find the map? And yes, you obviously can. In case you were curious, it's because these are tilt-open windows. So if that window was open and somebody wasn't paying attention and flipped that garbage door right there open, you could break your window. That would suck. They had their thinking caps on to make sure you couldn't bust your own camper. That is awesome. That's the kind of stuff that I really love about them. You can tell there's just a little bit more of an IQ brain power going to work when they're planning out their floor plans. Now, it's not necessarily any smaller overall as compared to a lot of other fifth wheels, although with only 2 small slides on this side, it does look a little funky, doesn't it? But a lot of rear kitchens actually kind of look like that. Now, you have standard 4-point automatic leveling on this, electric auto leveling, by the way. And in here, they've been doing an enclosed docking center for quite a while now. You see the little outside shower sprayer hookup right there. If you back up the footage a little bit, there was a black square box next to the ladder on the back of the RV. It has one of these inside of there, by the way. So if you want to take that blue hose, you could use it off the back of the RV, or you could use it in here next to your sewer outlet station. Now, what I don't know, because I didn't look, is if this is 1 or 2 sewer outlets. Give me just a moment, and we'll circle back to check on that. In the meantime, though, this thing has basement galorage, brother. That is big. And there's that little shelf I told you about down there. It's a little dusty down here. Now, around the corner is the factory 1,000-watt inverter. That is, again, helping keep the outlets running. Plus, you see that this does have a drinking water filtration system here. So we have a sewer outlet right there. And as I figured, so that's going to be the black and the gray for the bathroom. This back here will be a dedicated gray-only outlet just for the kitchen. Kind of sucks that it has 2 sewer outlets. Considering the distance between the kitchen and the bathroom, I understand why it has to have those. The good news is it's not like located under a slide out where you have to crawl for it. And more good news, the underbelly here does have a radiant barrier package and 12-volt holding tank heaters standard on every single travel trailer Rockwood and Flagstaff makes. Oh, and fifth wheel, sorry. And I will give you real world Monopoly money if you can tell me what this location used to be called. Don't read the side of the building behind me. And for those of you who weren't aware, kind of like I used to be at a place called Halet RV, and we made the choice to join the ranks of Bish's RV. This used to be called Fun & Son RV. It was another family-owned place. They actually had 2 locations in Michigan. We're up here again at the Ludington store. And this is like that little engine that could. It's a small little postage stamp of a property, but they really pack a lot of campers out here. And the staff, it's like the few and the proud. There's not a whole lot of staff here, but they're really proud of what they do. And they are doing just an amazing job. They're growing by leaps and bounds, which is awesome to see. Now, a couple things here. We've got the factory standard 190-watt roof solar package right here that comes with a charge controller that can handle an additional one of those panels. And wouldn't you know it, Flagwood, as it were, offers an additional panel from the factory, or we could slap it on here. Now, whenever you get the fans in a Flagwood, you get the bigger vent fans, and they automatically come with the Max Air vent cover. Those are awesome things. Additionally, when you add a second AC to this, it's actually a low-profile air conditioner with heat pump. So that is expanding not only the cooling, but also the heating capacity of this RV. And because it's low profile, what that means is that when you start reading those spec charts and it says, here's the highest point on the RV, that low profile air conditioner actually is not the highest point. So it's not adding any height to the camper. That's just one of those handy little factoids right there I wanted to share with you. So when you're reading those spec charts, you got a little bit better idea what you're looking at. And by the way, speaking of the staff here, they've just been so warm and welcoming to me. They've made my stay here very accommodating. And I'd like to give a special shout out to Mr. Jim, the lot manager. Jim's the guy that pulled this trailer out so we could take a good look at it today. So if you enjoyed today's footage, leave me a little note. Says, thanks, Jim. And I'm going to get a copy of that forwarded over to him. So like I said, seems like we see a lot of the same kind of floor plans out there in the marketplace. I went out of my way to find you something a little bit different today. Do you like what you see? Or would you rather see more of the same thing that you've seen 100 times before? Because, folks, I'll do it. I'll put on camera whatever you want me to, as long as it's more, tends to be family-friendly. Josh the RV Nerd won't be starting an OnlyFans channel anytime soon. Hashtag nerd stuff. Anyway, let me know what you think about this. I'll leave you a link for pricing and availability in the video description. And maybe a couple other Rockwood or Flagstaff fifth wheel videos if you want to see something else out there. Because they're very cool about doing some very different things. I'm fogging up my own glasses with all the hot air that I'm blowing out here today. But hey, leave it to Michigan. It was 80 degrees 2 days ago, and today I can see my own breath. That's pure Michigan, baby. So when you're ready, we're ready. Leave me a note. Let me know what you think about this one. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, take care, stay safe, have fun. And sorry about the loud diesel engine in the background, everyone.